right, welcome on in. I'm not even sure what to make of what we just saw in that Sunday night game, but this is the late night NFL nightcap, recapping just a wild first week, first Sunday of the NFL season, capped off by an insane comeback in Buffalo. I don't even know what to say about what we just saw. Trying to write about it for the column, had to rewrite everything in the last 10 or 15 minutes because, of course, for 50 minutes in this game, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and the Ravens looked like they might be the most unstoppable team in the entire NFL. Flashback to about 40 minutes ago of real time, I'm having NFL scouts text me that they don't even know how you stop this Baltimore offense. Think about this. It's 40-25 Ravens, and then Derrick Henry fumbles. 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, and all anyone in Baltimore is going to remember from this game is the fumble that he lost with 3:06 remaining. And Josh Allen, what more is there to say? He's the MVP. Raise a glass right here, right now on this nightcap to Josh Allen, because when you look at him, what more is there to say? What more can you say to praise Josh Allen? He's in that pantheon of quarterbacks that you can't feel good about beating until it's all zeros on the scoreboard. And he beats you in a myriad of ways. You have the quick strike ability, the 40 plays, 30 yards down the field for a touchdown, coolly marching 70 yards downfield on the game's final 9 plays, setting up Matt Prater for the game winner. Barely a Buffalo Bill for like 72 hours. Prater splits the uprights, and an epic comeback goes in the books for the Buffalo Bills. One of the greatest comebacks that I've seen in the regular season, maybe in the last 5 years. I just can't remember a more thrilling regular season game, and certainly a more exciting NFL Week 1 game than that. I mean, you look at the Ravens, they have to feel good about things for the first 3.5 quarters of that game, and then it all just evaporates. Then it's just another late game collapse against a playoff caliber, Super Bowl caliber opponent that they're going to need to get through to get out of the AFC and into the Super Bowl. And for the Bills, put this right alongside the greatest signature wins of Josh Allen's career. It was just an incredible game. Again, I'm sitting here, we're sipping scotch on the nightcap, and I'm not even sure how to contextualize what we saw over those final 12 minutes or so in the game. And it was just the perfect ending to a wild NFL Sunday to open up the season, because let's just go to Green Bay, where Micah Parsons, even in limited action, surpassed every possible reasonable expectation for that Packers defense, for the kind of impact that he's going to make on that franchise. He only played 34 snaps, but he had a pressure that forced an interception, another pressure that led to a Jared Goff interception at the end of the half, and then he gets his first sack in the fourth quarter, and a lot of this going up against all-pro Penei Sewell at offensive tackle. And we saw Jeff Hafley moving him around. They wrote about this in the column. One play he's lined up against Penei Sewell. The other play he's lined up against the opposite side of the field, against the opposite offensive tackle. And then Hafley will line him up over the center as a de facto nose tackle. Just a Swiss Army knife of a defensive machine for the Green Bay Packers, a difference maker, arguably the missing piece. I wrote about this in the column for Monday. An NFL scout told me, quote, that pressure from Micah Parsons is priceless. You can be aggressive up front knowing the ball is coming out. It also creates off-target throws, which you saw from Jared Goff on Sunday afternoon. They can't push the ball downfield, unquote. That's the impact Micah Parsons makes. That's the type of player that Jerry Jones inexplicably traded away from the Dallas Cowboys. That's the kind of weapon that Hafley and the Packers now have. It's only one game, and I get that. And I saw what the Eagles did on Thursday night in the NFC. I saw what Washington did. We're going to get to that in a couple minutes here in Landover against the Giants today to open up the season. And it's only one game, but it was an emphatic statement from the Green Bay Packers. I thought the Packers looked like the Lions of the past 2 years today. If you look at what the Lions did under Dan Campbell in 2023 and 2024, the way that they punished teams defensively, fed off of it offensively with a ground and pound offense that could beat you over the top in the passing game with guys like Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, it now became Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks. That's what the Packers did to the Detroit Lions. They beat them at their own game in Lambeau in front of a raucous crowd on a day that felt like you were tone setting what this race is going to become in that division. Jordan Love, 16 of 22, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns with some big throws mixed in throughout the game. Huge win for the Packers. I don't know that you can label what that means to stop a 3-game home losing streak to a division rival like the Lions, who's had their number, and you go out there and look like you're just the team to beat in the division, maybe the team to beat in the NFC if they can keep up at this pace and if Parsons continues to get better and more dominant the further that he gets away from that injury. Now, similarly, a game that we didn't get to in the column, but I thought the 49ers offense answered the bell today. In a really tough place to play in Seattle against a division rival, they go in and they survive 17-13. Christian McCaffrey goes off for 142 yards from scrimmage with 32 touches. And if you listen to the podcast, if you read me throughout the weeks, if you follow me on social media at Matt Lombardo NFL on Threads, it's Matt Lombardo on Blue Sky, I've been pretty consistent in saying that it might take, at least as the 49ers start to get healthy here, it might take 34 touches per game from Christian McCaffrey to carry that offense to what they need to be. He delivered it today. And Brock Purdy, 26-35, 277 yards, 2 scores, 2 touchdowns. Your Brock Purdy experience. But again, you go into a hostile environment, you execute that offense the way that it's designed to be executed, and you pull off a win. That's a big moment in week 1 for a 49ers team that I think there's a lot of question marks about going into this year within that division, where even today you saw the Cardinals go down to New Orleans, punch them in the mouth, and come away with a win. If I'm looking for things to be most impressed by, most optimistic about for the 49ers, I thought Ricky Pearsall looked like a number 1 wide receiver today with 4 catches for 108 yards. That's what they drafted him to do. That's what he's going to need to do, especially with Brandon Ayuk still getting healthy. And then on the other side, Sam Darnold. I thought Sam Darnold looked, what's the word we're going for here? Pedestrian? Right? I mean, that was not the Sam Darnold that we saw in Minnesota. That was not the Sam Darnold who played the best football of his career in Kevin O'Connell's offense. But I'm not sure that the blame lies with him. Because if you're the Seattle Seahawks, I think what today's game showed you, against a team and an offense that's vulnerable in San Francisco, it makes you scratch your head even further why they traded away DK Metcalf. Why you traded away DK Metcalf after moments before signing Sam Darnold. Because if you're trying to reset at quarterback with Darnold, are you hoping to live up to or surpass what he did a year ago with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison? I think you saw today the consequences of removing a game-altering weapon like DK Metcalf when you could have paired him with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Jackson Smith-Njigba goes off today, 124 receiving yards. Sam Darnold targeted him 13 times. Where's the secondary option in that Seahawks passing game? Who's wide receiver 2? Noah Fant, the tight end. He's in Cincinnati. He made a game-changing play for Joe Burrow's Bengals. Was one of the sparks of their offense. I love Elijah Arroyo out of Miami, the rookie. Stand out from the Senior Bowl. He's not DK Metcalf. He might not yet be Noah Fant. I just don't know that there are enough weapons in Seattle, and it makes me wonder what the thought process was there, going with Sam Darnold, who had the best season of his career in a quarterback cocoon with game-altering weapons, and you dealt one of them away. Going to be a storyline to watch in Seattle for the Seahawks this year. And speaking of Metcalf, he was everywhere for the Steelers. He was the most prolific weapon for Aaron Rodgers on a day where Aaron Rodgers goes out and gets his revenge on the Jets. Now, you can't tell me that that didn't mean a little bit extra to Aaron Rodgers going into East Rutherford and knocking off the Jets. He said it afterwards. He said, quote, "I just feel great about beating everyone associated with the Jets franchise," unquote. It was so much fun. That was the game that I keyed in on in the early window. That of the three TVs that I have here in the command center, that was the one with the audio. That was the big screen TV. And it was just back and forth. I came away from that game with the impression that the Steelers and the Jets are basically the exact same team. Rodgers goes out 22 of 30 for 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. 83 of those yards go to DK Metcalf, and Pittsburgh gets it done late on a Chris Boswell 60-yarder. They did what they had to do. Mike Tomlin gets it done again. As I wrote in the column for Monday morning, death, taxes, and Mike Tomlin finding a way. It was just one of those games. The Steelers defense did just enough late. Aaron Rodgers executed the offense the way that it's designed by Arthur Smith around what Aaron Rodgers does at this point in his career. But I'll tell you what, guys, as impressive as that was, as impressive as Aaron Rodgers was in week one going into East Rutherford, knocking off his former team, I really thought that Justin Fields came of age in a lot of ways. And I know it wasn't enough. And I know that there really aren't quote unquote moral victories in the NFL. But if you're a Jets fan, if you're the New York Jets, you got to be encouraged by what you saw out of Justin Fields. I thought that they leaned into what their mentality is going to have to be this year with the ground and pound offense. I look at Breece Hall busting out after being challenged by Braylon Allen through much of the preseason. Hall comes out and looks like a legitimate number one running back. 19 carries, 107 yards. But Justin Fields did what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do. 12 rushing attempts, 48 yards, 2 scores. He high steps into the end zone, putting the Jets in front, and it just wasn't enough. The defense couldn't hold. Aaron Rodgers did what they needed to do to drive down and set up a 60-yard game-winning field goal. 218 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, 119.1 passer rating. Missed opportunity for the Jets in the big picture, but I think you feel good about what Justin Fields did today. If you get that Justin Fields for 17 weeks, the Jets are going to be competitive. I don't know that they're going to be 500, but they're going to be close. And one more standout performance that I thought deserves some mention here that we didn't get to in the column, and that is the Denver Broncos, a team that anybody who follows me on social media, anybody who listens to the podcast with Mike Tanier and I, anybody who reads the column every week or takes part in the mailbags, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm pretty high on the Broncos going into this year. And Bo Nix did what he had to do today. He had one really big-time throw to Cortland Sutton for an early touchdown. And their defense, Denver's defense, goes out and strangles Cam Ward, as we basically expected that they would. You have to feel good if you're the Broncos about their top rookies. First-round cornerback Jahdae Barron gets the game-sealing fumble recovery on a Cam Ward fumble, and second-round pick R.J. Harvey rushes for 70 yards, puts the offense on his back as far as the grounded game goes. You got what you needed to get out of your rookies there. Big picture, you look at what happened across the league today, across the league this weekend. I think that when you look at the NFC right now, when you look at the hierarchy, when you look at the pantheon, the Eagles did what they had to do against the Cowboys. I thought the defense ruled the day, even without Jalen Carter. Jalen Hurts put the Eagles offense on his back on Thursday night, made the big throws when he had to, made the runs when they needed him to make them. Was a ground and pound offense, first and foremost, with Saquon Barkley, as you expected. The Commanders go out, make a statement, neutralize the Giants' pass rush. Jaden Daniels looks as effective as ever. Deebo Samuel with an insurance touchdown. Zach Ertz with a touchdown. The Packers look like they're firing on all cylinders. In the NFC, they look like the big three. They really do. And in the AFC, well, The Chiefs looked about as vulnerable in San Paulo, Brazil, as they looked in New Orleans in February. The Ravens and Bills look like they're going to be the teams to beat. The Bengals, they avoided a slow start. It wasn't ugly, but it was a division game, and they went on the road and they got the job done against a pretty good Browns defense. Those were the standout performances for me. Those were some of the teams that I expected to see make a run this year on both sides of the bracket. And Owen Morris checks in. Any mulligans on your picks before the season? I still feel pretty good about where I was on a lot of these teams going in. I thought the Ravens were the most complete team in the league. If Derrick Henry doesn't fumble in that fourth quarter, are we talking about them, on the losing end of a heartbreak? I'm not so sure. And even if we aren't, even if they get the job done and they hold serve, I don't think anybody's looking at the Bills any differently if they lost that game 40-25 or 40-32 than we are about them winning 42-40. Those were two of the best teams in football. I'm still high on the Commanders, as high as ever. Jaden Daniels, to me, typified everything we expected to see early on from Jaden Daniels. The new additions for the Commanders were difference makers today. Still high on Washington, still high on Denver. I feel good about some of the big picture predictions. I think Jordan Love plays his way into the MVP conversation. Josh Allen is going to be difficult to unseat as the MVP if this is the Josh Allen that we get throughout the course of the season. Lamar Jackson is going to be in that conversation because the Ravens are just that good. And I think the Chiefs, I'm not going to bet against them because you have Andy Reid, you have Patrick Mahomes, but they do look a little bit vulnerable, do they not? Chargers might be better than we expected. Steelers might be a little bit better than we expected. But let's face it, the AFC North is the Ravens, the Bengals, maybe the Steelers defense. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for sipping some of the scotch, whatever you have, a fine craft brew, some tequila, whatever you have on hand. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back this week with Mike Tanier on the podcast. You can check out the column first thing Monday morning before you wake up. It hits your inbox. Lots of insight. Checked in with John Kuhn, former Packer. Checked in with Brian Mitchell, former Washington standout. Some scouts, some executives around the league to get their thoughts and their insight on what happened in week one. Hope you check it out. Hope you enjoy it. And we'll try to make these late night NFL nightcap recaps a thing moving forward on Sunday night. So thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for staying up late. And we'll talk to you this week.